Hey, yo.
Hey, Marcus.
Pop in surprise there. How are you doing, Mark?
Doing well, thank you.
It's good to see you once again. And same location as last time, but new location. But a new day. It's always day one.
New day, new location, also on my end.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So the
yeah.
background changes, the human being in front of the camera remains the same. Not fully the same, because we evolve as well, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, I'm, s- you live life long enough, you start to appreciate its variety as well as its sameness. And it's bouncing your awareness back and forth between those and finding gratitude in all of it. So this is the last episode of this
It's the
series.
last episode. Amazing. I think this is number 24, right? Or even 25, because we had a prelogue and now the epilogue of the
Hmm.
book, and then 23 chapters in between. So
Boom.
25 weeks, pretty much half a year we've been on this podcast journey together.
Oh man. Mark, it should, I won't say should. It took longer than expected, yet I always remember when you said as long as it takes. And it was well worth it. Lessons learned. This is gonna be a reflective podcast. Yeah. For those watching, I actually have something in my eye, so that while I am teary-eyed, this is the last episode. It's also my eyes are a little bit irritated. All right, let's look at our epilogue. I'll pull up the slide here. It's called "The Circle of Fathers." For this episode, we are going to talk about the epilogue, and it's going to be a reflection, as it is in the story. Yeah. Mark, I don't because you know it so well. I don't feel I'm putting you on the spot, but can you explain what happens in our epilogue here, this final chapter?
So I'll just recap from the prologue. So the setup of the story. We see Kenna, who's the main character in the book, as a child. I think he's 10 years old, and he has this conversation with his father, and his father is giving him, I guess, advice on how important it is to be serious at school, to study hard, to do well, and that as long as he does that, he will find success in life. And so he gives the advice that it's important to trust yourself, it's important to know yourself, to believe in yourself. And so that sort of carries Kenna through through the journey. And of course, his understanding of what it means to trust yourself and believe in yourself evolves throughout the book, throughout the 23 chapters, and we've spoken quite a bit about that. And now he's obviously graduated, and he's later on in his life where he has his own child. So that's why it's called Circle of Fathers. So now Kenna is the father, and he's having a similar conversation with his 10-year-old son. And what we see is that the conversation has evolved, and the message is no longer the same. So there's some kind of a pattern that Kenna has managed to break in his sort of family dynamic, and of course also carry a lot of good things with him. But there's a certain pattern there that he has grown and evolved personally, and so now the way he's bringing up his child, his son, is different, somewhat different than the way he was brought up by his father. And so we just give another sort of example of that dynamic, father-son dynamic. And his son is called Arjun,
For sure.
and they're having a conversation about how important it is to be able to stay grounded and centered when we feel emotions like anger or fear. And so Arjun is sort of expressing that with his father. His father is helping him to think through that on how he deals with it and how he can deal with it in better ways. So you see it's the same, but it's different. And I think that that's a really nice example of how relationships and how our own personal growth and development influences the way that we, the sort of the stories that we pass on to our children and that they will then pass on to their children. So I
Mm,
think there's sort of a generational thing here that we're tapping into.
yeah, yeah. There's a typo there with the name. And first of all, thank you for that. That was a nice
Mhm.
synopsis. With the typo with the name, it's the circle of fathers and sons. I didn't write the and sons.
Mhm.
And I remember in the scene, in the prologue, Kenna looks up and he sees all the his father's library lined with his grandfather and his father's father. And then now it is Arjun and him. And those pictures are still there. So it's like continuing the story. Um, I also loved how you said, it's the same but different. That's what we often say in Southeast Asia, same but different.
Mhm.
Because he tells them the same words, trust yourself. So he said, my father has told me these things, trust yourself. Yet now it holds a different meaning for Kenna as he goes
Mhm.
in. Ah, man. Yeah, so we're going to be talking about how family legacy evolves as we grow older.
Mhm.
I can speak to my experience, and let me ask you as a father, what hmm, if you could give me one thing, just one thing that you've taken from your bringing up, your experience, that you'll take, and one thing that you'll leave from your father's story.
Mhm.
And I'll answer first, so I'll give you some time to think.
Mhm. Yep.
Um, so I did when I was 12 years old. I grew up with my father in the Bahamas. Yet I also grew up with my mother back and forth. They were divorced by then. And one thing from my father I will take is perseverance, hardworking. I called it stubbornness, and I still do. But yeah, I'll say perseverance. For my mother, it is joy. She's a sincerely happy woman,
Mhm.
and her ability to bring joy, not contrived, but really sincerely finding it. I will take that forward with my family. One thing I would leave is, it's interesting. I guess from my father, the I don't know what would be I'm not gonna call it closed-mindedness because he would take in other people's perspective, but the doggedness to be right.
Sorry, the what?
The doggedness to be right, to say this is
Yep.
right,
Yeah.
as opposed to there are other perspectives that can be right.
Yeah.
I don't think he'd ever say I am wrong, but
Mhm.
for whatever it's worth.
Mhm.
So yeah, I would leave that there. And with my mother, and I say I'd leave these, I accept it for who they were.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
accept all of it. But she was a bit timid. Um yeah, and I don't knock them either for it. For their one to be doggedly right and the other one to be timid. It's they were beautiful in their own rights. And
Mhm.
the work I do is to honor my mother and my father.
Mhm.
So that's just my reflection. And I guess when you get old enough as an adult, it's like, yeah, you reflect and the dots connect themselves and you're just like, thank you.
Mhm. Very nice. Yeah, I like how you said, you accept. And I wonder if you can even let something go if you haven't accepted it.
Okay. Well, it's funny, interesting. Right when you said that, I was like, I wouldn't let it go. And I understood what you meant, and then I understood what I meant, and I think we mean two different things.
Okay.
What do you mean, let it go?
Well, to that you would leave that, you said the one thing you would like to take forward and the one thing you would like to leave. So I kind of took that as let it go, let go a certain characteristic or and I was just reflecting on the fact that you said you accept it. And
Hmm.
I was wondering, like, can you really let something go, or just sort of let it be and say, I'm not going to carry that forward with me, if you hadn't come to a certain level of acceptance, with, in that aspect of your father or mother. Uh,
Mm,
yeah.
okay, awesome. In my head, how I understood those is I accept it as them, as part of the lived experience.
Hmm.
And when I was talking about pass it on, I was thinking, pass it on to the next generation
Hmm.
through me.
Hmm.
Um, hmm, they're both right. But
Hmm.
I was thinking, pass it on to the next generation
Hmm.
through me.
Hmm.
Um, hmm, they're both right. But
Hmm.
I think I've accepted it there as opposed to
Hmm.
say accepting it here to accept to pass on. But I don't let go of it because it's like I accept it. I was thinking, pass it on to the next generation
Hmm.
through me.
Hmm.
Um, hmm, they're both right. But
Hmm.
I think I've accepted it there as opposed to
Hmm.
say accepting it here to accept to pass on. But I don't let go of it because it's like I accept it. I'm getting caught up in some like don't mind me.
No, no, it's
Mm,
fine. I think it's really nice.
mm,
I get it. Thanks for sharing that. The
yeah.
perseverance, the joy. Yeah. Yeah. I think there's something similar on the perseverance side. Is I think with my father, it's what I really admire is, if you do something, do it right. There's that sense
Mm,
of, if you're going to engage in something, then you might as well fully engage with it and do it correctly, do it right. So I feel like that's something that I've taken on more and more in my life,
mhm,
and that I've actually grown into more,
mm,
and probably something that I'm also passing on to my children,
awesome.
um, in doing that. And I guess what I have in the process left behind a bit is the sense of needing. I mean, security is important, and I think I have, created a certain level of security in my life, but it's not as important, I think, as the way that I was brought up, right? And to have like that sense of stability, maybe more. Security, stability, kind of the same thing, but the stability piece, I feel, is not definitely not as important for me as it was for my, um, parents and the generations before that. And
Mhm,
I think that I've made choices and decisions that, um, sort of break from that pattern. And I feel that that's something that I encourage my children also to think less about the need for stability and more about the need to follow your passion, right? And follow your, uh, ideas, and that things will fall into place. So there's I guess, a higher level of trust that things will work out and that things will come together. And that's something that I've tried to take a bit more of a stand for. I actually take quite a strong stand for. And I feel like then it automatically sort of gets transmitted onwards, right? It's just really natural in the way that I have looked at my children and sort of allow them to discover where their path is, right? Without any sense of like, oh, that's a high risk area to go into, right? You should probably take the safer path.
mhm.
Um, I feel I don't have that at all, really,
Beautiful,
or
beautiful.
very little of that. Yeah.
I'm I'm smiling because yesterday our community heroic. We talked to Dr. Dan Siegel. You're familiar with his work,
Hmm.
and he was talking about his children, and his children jokingly complained. It's just like, why, why didn't you oh, how'd he say it? Why didn't you teach us about how to like do finances or go into business and like all that? He's like, you've always showed us to like be passionate about our work because one is a musician and one is another something
Hmm.
else. And he said, "You know what? I mean, that's just like you said, that's just the choice that your mother and I have chosen." And he
Mm,
said, "You never be without purpose." And he said, "That's what's more important to me,
mm,
that you have that purposeful, fulfilled life." And yeah, that's beautiful. I love that.
mm, mm.
I,
And I think it's also, in our time now, because it's at least this is, again, my impression is that things are so unpredictable, and things are changing so fast that that sense of stability, it doesn't really exist anymore, whether it be a career, a job, all of that. It's, nobody knows what's going to happen in the next 10 years, and or even 5 years. And that our ability to navigate, to be agile, to be adaptive, to trust uh, the sort of the wisdom, the knowledge that we're gaining within ourselves, and how to express that, like that's becoming a much more valuable than, the ability to plan out our lives, and to um, have clarity on how our next 10 years is going to look like, or how our career is going to look like it almost feels like that is, it just doesn't, it's not realistic anymore. I don't know how you
well,
think about that.
I, I agree with you. I say it in different terms. Um, the fluidity of life, the ability to change and be an agent of change is becoming more democratized, or like more people have access to it. The fact that I can write a story with you, like 5 years ago, we would have never, 3 years ago. And I hear you say the stability of things. Yes, and I also thought like in that chaos, in that change, you can be intentional with that change and chart
Mm,
your new path going forward.
mm,
And I
mm,
think that's the privilege, the benefit, the beauty of this age that your children have, that my children will have. It's just
mm,
like, yeah, you can chart your own way forward and be fulfilled.
mm,
That's
mm,
the new enlightenment I think we're stepping into.
mhm. Yeah, that's really nice. Stability, that the stability is less about the external circumstances and how we can control those, keep them stable, but that the
Mhm.
stability is more about our capacity for grounding ourselves in the world, and
Mm,
uh, staying stable with everything else that's sort of moving around us. And
mm,
I feel that really comes through the process of knowing ourselves, right, and trusting ourselves. It's what anchors us in the flow of life, right? We can allow the flow of life to just do its thing while staying grounded, anchored in our own being.
mm.
So I like that. I think it's an interesting evolution of that idea of stability.
Yeah. I'm I'm excited for what's gonna come, man. Even with,
Hmm.
yeah, to those watching this, ChatGPT 5 just dropped yesterday, and then having sub agents. Um, like it's gonna be really a brand new world your kids are gonna enter into, that we're entering into. Ah. Uh, did you freeze? Oh, there we go. Let's do some reflection, right? For these
I
next
think I
12
did
minutes.
freeze a bit. Yeah. I don't know if I'm back. Am I
You are back.
back?
You're back.
Okay, good.
I was wondering. I said, well, wasn't that interesting of a point that I was making? I paused for a moment.
I was in deep reflection, Marcus, on that profound statement.
Let's reflect these past 12 minutes, these 11 minutes. Um, what are some big takeaways from you? Maybe two or three from our whole journey together. And what do you see going forward? Maybe one thing. And I'll go with one big takeaway, just collaboration. I've told you this before.
Mm,
You were, I think,
mm,
my first major collaboration after coming out of the classroom. You were my first, I would say, publicly, like, open, like, stranger collaboration. just contacting out of email, LinkedIn. It was just like, hey, you want to work on something? What are you working on? And you've given me a
Mhm.
foundation of, oh yeah, this is how it works inside the enterprise world. So that's one thing I'm taking away from this. Yeah, thank you.
Mm. Thanks, Marcus. Yeah. Yeah, it has been a wonderful, and it continues to be a wonderful collaboration. And I know it'll continue for a long time, that this is really the beginning of this project. Um, but I would say that if I look at these podcasts in particular, what I really like about it, and again, in general, it has to do, I think, with this idea, this takeaway from the way I was brought up. If you do something, do it well.
Mm,
And I think what comes with that is discipline.
okay.
And I feel like, and a lot of credit to you, Marcus, for just having that discipline to show up, over and over again, that every Friday at the same time. And when we weren't able to make it, we scheduled a time to pre-record. But every single Friday at the same time, there was the video that got released, 30 minutes. And I think there's something really beautiful in just doing that, doing the work and doing it well.
Mm,
Um, so that I is definitely one takeaway. And the other takeaway is growing into the story. So I
mm,
feel that by deepening into each of these chapters and sensing into it and really having conversations about the bigger points that we're making in each of the chapters, it really allowed us to deepen in, to further embody the characters, to further embody the journey that they're on, and um, and that has been, I think, a great help in the next edit, right? That's coming out in September, which is really the final version, the one that will go live. But this process has been tremendously helpful for that, uh, just to feel further into the characters, and I think we've done quite a lot to bring them even more to life and make them even richer as characters and stories.
mm. Yeah, yeah. It
And
was.
you know what I always like is the sense of that you do things because you want to do them and not because necessarily, there's this big audience that is waiting for you to do something, right? And of course, this is live and it's open, and hopefully people are enjoying it and having getting some value out of it. But even if that wasn't the case, I love the fact that we're still showing up and that we're doing it because it's joyful, right? Like
Mm,
it's a joyful experience. It's something that is helping us, and we're getting something out of it. It's fun, um, and at the same time, it's sort of come along, right? Join us, right? Let's have this conversation together. That's the energy and the spirit, I think, behind it. Um,
mm,
but there's no sense of like, oh, it's only successful if so many people have participated or watched it, or we get that many views and all of that. I think this has been quite a big part of my journey, is just to release those expectations and do things because it's the right thing to do, and because it's enjoyable, and because that's the work, right, that needs to be done.
mhm,
And I love how you embody that as well. That's something that I think we both have
yeah.
really embodied.
I'm gonna comment on that, and then I'm gonna let you
Mhm.
know about what you embody that I'm taking away, and that's what happens in collaboration, cross pollination. Um, yeah, when I write my poetry, I say I'm writing it for an audience of one,
Mhm.
and that is me, and it is the collective one. That's why I'm writing from the human experience.
Mhm.
And when I tear up on a piece, or when the piece like really hits and I'm like, oh yes, that's when I know it's, I don't want to say ready, but that's when I'm just like, okay, yeah, I've tapped into something that is our shared human experience. And this is and then I let it fly. And the second thing is, this is what you have taught me. Um, it's not create in public, but create, fall on your face, get up, create, fall on your face, get it. And when I say fall on your face, it just means There've been aspects of this where I was just like, oh crap. I mean, I will show up if, like you say, be here at this time, but would have wanted to prepare the slides the night before. Like I hold myself to a high standard that I fall short of oftentimes. It's being graceful with myself. That's what you've taught me, and inch by inch you'll get there. Um, yeah, and then yeah, just enjoy the path as we go along.
Mm.
Yeah. So one thing looking for, well, I'll let that marinate. Let me not rush it. Let me not rush it.
Yeah, let's let that sink in.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because it's an important point. It's an important point. Doing things for the joy and
Heck yeah.
things. How what is perfection, right? Perfection is showing up right in the moment, um, and at the same time, I think the level of the technology, right, that and the space that you've been holding, and the way that we have the slides, it's already, for me, I feel it's already a very high level of professionalism, this whole live streaming and everything around it. So I know that, um, yeah, it's been a real gift to experience that, to show up like this.
One aspect of perfect. I don't know if I've shared this with you before, but per means each, and infect means complete. Um,
Mm,
so it means complete. That's what perfect means. However,
mm,
everything that grows is breaking on the edges. It's expanding. So there are going to be cracks on the edges. It's when you understand that those cracks are part of the fullness that you realize we're moving from perfect moment to perfect moment to perfect. So it is perfect, depending on
mm,
how you define what perfect is, because it is
mm,
also breaking. Everything that eventually grows must first break.
mm.
So, because you can't have growth without breaking, and that's part of it. That's why it's perfect. Yeah.
Very nice.
Boom.
Very
You know.
nice, Marcus. So we have a couple minutes here.
Well,
I love
what
the
I was
reflections. Yeah,
Yeah,
go
the
ahead.
reflections and then the proflections, bending our awareness forward. Um,
Yeah,
what do you envision with this? I mean, we do have our launch date, and this phase will come to an end, and we will still
yeah.
market it because marketing has to go on. But what's in your vision, and how does it line up with your vision? You have your own vision, I have mine. Yeah.
My vision is love to have this story reach as many young people as possible, and not just reach them, but for it to be a catalyst for conversation, for reflection, for growth, and a way to really bring awareness and actionability to the IDGs and the SDGs. And for young people to see how they can uniquely contribute to these larger goals, big sustainability goals, and how they each kind of hold a piece of the puzzle there, and that this story, this book can help them discover that, and at least start to have dialogue around what that looks like, what that means. So I really I believe it's going to happen, and I think we're very much on that path. Um, I have so much confidence it that the timing is right, that there's a desire for these types of conversations, that um, there's a beautiful movement that we're tapping into on the IDG front. So I love that we've brought more and more of that into the story, and that we can, connect to people in that ecosystem and continue to build relationships there. Uh, and for sure build relationships with educators, especially the sort of visionary educators that are already doing a lot to imagine, the future of education, and that they can see this also as a mechanism, as a tool, uh, to bring their visions to life. So to really collaborate with these educators, and to see them as partners and collaborators, enablers.
Hmm.
So it's super exciting. I'm really, really excited, and very encouraged by the support that we've received so far. And that's all based on, these first versions that haven't been perfect. However, they are complete in their own right. They have a sense of completeness.
Yeah.
But by the end of September, it will feel even more like this is ready. This is ready to go out into the world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm. This is ready to go out into the world, just like a kid, just like you're birthing something. And then even
Yeah.
when it toddles, it's just like, no, it's ready. Just let it grow.
Yes. Yes.
um, I whenever I choose a project, it has to go through a filter. Now that's something I've learned inside this collaborative project. Um, and I write my vision every morning. It says, I blank, it's joyfully, dutifully. I any adjective I want, adverb I want to fill in there. Inspire, impact, and empower the world by publishing words of well-being
Mm.
that will, what does it say, support change makers and visionaries who support adolescents, tens and thousands of adolescents, to do vision-aligned and purpose-driven work in their local communities.
Wow.
So that's the vision, and then the mission is what I need to do for the day, and then the origin is what I've done in the past that knows that the vision will come to fruition.
Mm.
And I say that because that's what this project is. It is for me to dutifully publish words of well-being that will create those conversations. And I love when you said that. It's another thing from Dr. Dan's conversation yesterday. It's those conversations are exchanging of thoughts. They're literally, like I said in last meeting, the arrangements of vibrations. That's all words are. And it creates new beliefs and new ways of looking at the world. And I think we've created a piece, an artifact for the world to start an empowering conversation, a conversation about well-being, a conversation that simply asks, "Who are you?"
Mm.
And then it says, "Hey, come back home, go away, come back home." And this is what the human experience is. You're beautifully and like deeply like you know what human development is. Yeah, I know what human development is, and you've taken this and you've put it together. And now, yeah, there's my vision to put it out into the world and publish it, public art, make it publicly known. So, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, my friend. And who knows? We'll, at some point, maybe we're going to find another series, right, of conversations that we can publish, right? Maybe in a different format, but I've enjoyed this so much. And even though this is the end of what we set out to do, which is to cover each of the 23 chapters, I wouldn't be surprised if, somewhere along the way, there's another idea that comes up that will lead to a further deepening into these themes and topics, and maybe with some other, maybe it will be in more of a group format. Who knows? But I've thoroughly enjoyed this, Marcus, and I really want to thank you for being on this journey together, and to to follow through on this project, this podcast project. Mm.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
Like Shakespeare said, every new beginning. Well, Polonius in Hamlet, every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. So now this
Hmm.
is the end of this, and there's a new beginning right there.
Yeah.
All right, Mark. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Leave with gratitude. Leave with gratitude, and we're leaving this podcast. It's been wonderful. Any final words from you, sir? I think we've done final words like 3 times, but anything else?
No, I'm complete. I'm complete. So
Good.
yeah, it's been great. Thank you, everyone who has joined or listened in afterward. It's been also a joy traveling together with you on this, and there'll be much more to come in the future. So stay tuned. All the best.
All the best until we come home. All right. Peace.
Bye.